to stage. Hi. This is the first time I've ever live streamed, so I'm trying to figure this out with my friend Corena Chase.
I already have Chrome, but I can't seem to access this. Why is it? Oh my goodness. Hang on.
So we're going to do this chat about confidence, I guess, and public speaking, presenting. And I'm excited to talk with her. Corena's actually writing a book, which she's going to tell us about. We both work with non-actors. We both were actors, and now we are. Well, Corena's no longer an actor. She's an executive coach, and apparently she mostly works with non-actors. And she's trying to log on. Let me make sure she's. How's it going?
I'm getting there, I think.
So we have a lot in common, and here she is.
Here.
Okay, I want to turn this off, and we're going to come back to live stream, and there we go.
Hi.
Hey.
All right.
So everybody, this is Corena, and yeah. So as I was saying, Corena and I, we met at a restaurant where we both were working. It was like it was our day job as actors. And I liked Corena so much that I had another friend who was making a little short film, and I said, "Oh, you have to cast Corena." And so I got to work with Corena.
Isn't that nice?
Terrific.
That's how the world works, by the way, right there.
Yeah, that's how we all get acting jobs, is by people that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, we've lived our lives, and
I left LA. You stayed in LA, so we were out of touch mostly, but following the wonderful world of social media, following each other and rooting for each other from afar.
Feeling like we were still in touch, even though we weren't really in touch, just in touch on social media. And then you reached out to me because I think I'm not even sure which post it was.
So I'm writing a book called Confidence is Overrated, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I saw a post that you posted about your work with your clients, and you said something about moving past confidence and focusing on other things and sort of embracing whatever feelings are coming up instead of confidence as being a really important part of the kind of strategy of managing anxiety or nerves as you were coaching people around presentations and auditions, and that's something that I talk about. So I reached out to you just to learn more about how that was coming up for you and what some of those conversations with your clients were like.
Yeah.
And you said, well, let's have that conversation.
Let's do it live.
Let's have that conversation.
Let's recreate it. So we actually did have it off screen, but then now we're catching up on screen and having a I don't. So
continuing the conversation.
Yeah,
I just lost you.
And we were both talking about at least I was talking about my memory, so I have actually like hardly any recollection of any conversations. so it's like we're having it all over. Like I've never had it before.
Exactly.
So can you tell us about? Can you just tell us about your work and what you do? I think that's really, really interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm an executive coach. So I work with individuals almost always in the context of their work. Often a company hires me to work with somebody. Sometimes individuals hire me. And we're talking about that sort of one-on-one work where we work on the skills that they need to be more efficient, more effective, doing whatever they're doing. So often people hire me when they're moving from one level to another level in their organization. They need to sort of reorient their priorities, the way that they're doing things. There might, it's usually high performers, people doing very well, but there's one or two things holding them back, maybe, that we just need to look at, whether it's the way that they are communicating around something or that just again a reorientation of priority, the way they spend their time, the way they organize themselves. Could be any number of things. Sometimes companies just hire coaches for people because they really want to invest in them, and they like what they're doing, and they just want them to have somebody that they can talk to as they sort of continue to navigate their careers. And then I also do. Sorry.
That's a really nice. That would be so nice to have somebody.
It's the most rewarding thing in the world, because you get to get inside people's brains and hearts with them as they're trying to do something that they want to do. And it's just, I think it's nice for people to have somebody to talk to that's external to their work environment, to think through things, and a huge premise of coaching, of course, is that they sort of have all the knowledge that they need. If they have the time and space to just sit back and think about things, and they get asked good questions, that they'll sort of find their own way to doing the things that they need to do. So I certainly have best practices and ideas, and I've seen a bunch of people move through these. So I have suggestions, but it's very much about making the space for somebody else to figure out how they can reorganize or reprioritize or sort of reorient towards whatever it is that they're trying to do.
I feel like I'm going a little off course, but I want to know, how did you learn how to do that?
Well, I have a coaching certification from Columbia, which was super helpful. I learned a ton. And it's also, and this is a big thing about, since we're talking about confidence, I also learned from doing it. You learn everything by doing it. So I got training. And, I will say too, I come from a family of therapists. So I do have some natural sort of facility around being in that kind of conversation with people, from having that modeled for me. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing. I've been doing it for over a decade, and I learn every time I do it. And I learn about, and I also gave, the great thing about training at Columbia is that it's part of the business school. So you actually learn a lot about the issues that come up for people in those sort of contexts. And I also do leadership development and communications sort of facilitation group work. So I train people on various skills and tools and models, if they're helpful, and when you're trying to sort of develop your leadership skills, and communicate more effectively inside an organization, have more influence, impact stakeholders, all that kind of thing. It's learning, right? I gave myself a crash course in business, and then just learned and learned and learned over the years.
Okay. Wow.
And that's a huge thing about confidence, since that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we think we're, when we're struggling or we feel uncomfortable, because of course at the beginning of this career, I was, I definitely a lot of times was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And you think and that feels bad. And because it feels bad, you feel like, oh, I wish I was more confident. I need to be more confident. But almost always what we actually need is more competence. We need more skill. We need more experience. And that's a different thing to go after. It's a little bit, you can be a little more clear-sighted a little bit, I think, about knowing that what I need here is more skill. I need more experience. I need more reps, right? I need more reps.
Just need to practice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then confidence is really a result. It's a result of something. So one of the mistakes I think we make is sort of chasing confidence, the belief, right? Chasing the belief in yourself first.
Yeah, the result.
You're chasing the result a little bit.
Yeah.
When you think about pursuing confidence or wanting to feel more confident. So I often, with my clients, I'll try to get them sort of off the pursuit of confidence and trying to talk about what are the skills, what are the things you're looking to do here? What's the impact you want to have? And let's just talk about what the road looks like between here and there.
Yeah. How are you going to feel? What do you have to do in order to feel the way that, in order to feel confident? And it's not like to conjure up some feeling. It's about like
mastery. Or belief. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I have talked about, is like, for me, one of the things I have to do in order to feel confident or at ease or good about what I'm doing is I have to run it 250 times. It just has to happen. Like
Mhm.
so that it's muscle memory, so that it's like riding a bike, so that, when, someone that's watching the audition or whatever coughs and or throws their sandwich on the floor or whatever, that I'm it's so in my body and in my brain that I don't need. It's like, driving, you can drive
Mhm.
from your work to your home without really paying attention because you've done it so many times. It's muscle memory. And then, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, yeah, preparation is such a huge part of managing confidence, nerves, anxiety, whatever it is. And one of the things I've learned as a coach, just talking to hundreds of different people about the way that they prepare, is that it's super individual. Like, you really have to figure out what's right for you. And that's something, I mean, you've been an actor for so long, right? You've really learned that even, what is it, 30 years into your career, it's like, I still have to prepare 250 times in order to feel good. And that's like hard won self knowledge about what
yeah,
is required for you to
yeah,
prepare.
yeah,
And but I think it's not the kind of thing you can prescribe or just steal from somebody else. You really need to. Everyone needs to find their own level of preparation, because I work with people that over prepare. They just prepare too much, and then it's sort of all the life leaves the
yeah.
actual presentation, or they get over attached to the version of it that they prepared. And if anything goes wrong, it sends them off course. And
Or if anything goes differently than the
yeah,
way yeah,
yeah.
because it's never wrong. But
But
yeah,
one of the things that I love about anxiety, or the lack of confidence when you need to do something, is it's a message. It's telling you, I haven't done the right level of preparation. Like, something's, or I just need to kind of look at how I'm going into this thing and figure out what this anxiety is telling me. Is it telling me that I don't believe in myself and don't believe I can do this? Or is it telling me that I could spend a little more time here, or that maybe I need to be ready for some more variables that might come up? um, and that kind of thing. So there's usually a little gift, right, in those
yeah,
hard feelings that come up.
a map.
There's a map, or an invitation to pause and say, what's if you're not freaked out by your own anxiety and nerves, there's an invitation to figure out what they're telling you.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us what the book is about and what prompted the book? What's making it
Sure.
birth? Okay.
um, The premise of the book is that confidence is overrated for a number of reasons. And it stems from, I guess, shall I tell the story? I'll
Yeah.
tell it really quickly. When I was an actor in my early 20s, I was in acting class with this wonderful teacher and actor named Austin Pendleton. And he was telling the class how it was really important that we just keep going out there and auditioning and getting reps and being in front of people, and just having the experience of auditioning. And I raised my hand and I said, I feel like, I think I'm a pretty confident person in general, but like going out there and being rejected over and over again and having to keep putting myself out there, like, I feel like it's really taken a ding in my confidence. It's I'm sort of suffering in that confidence. It's not building my confidence. It's doing the opposite. And Austin leaned back in his chair. Everyone in the class was like, what is he going to say? And Austin leaned back in his chair and he's like, yeah, the thing about confidence is it's overrated. And went on to explain how confidence is just a feeling that you may or may not have, that has very little to do with whether or not you can be successful.
Or
As
do good work.
what?
Or if the work is good. Like, just because you
Well,
feel
exactly.
at ease doesn't mean the work is good. In fact, I feel like for actors,
A
the
lot of times it gets in
yeah,
the way, and he talked about
yeah,
that too. You can be overconfident. I mean, there's this sort of aliveness to whatever the moment is that you want to have, and if you're overconfident or you've pumped yourself up or just believe you've got this and it's so great, then sort of a lot of the things that keep you alive to the moment and what's important about it. I think you talk about that little bit of vulnerability. It makes you more interesting. It makes you often more authentic. So
More
there's
relatable.
more relatable. Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause we
and
all
just
feel
you
ra like, we
you
all feel.
you can operate at a high level even when you're, like, shaking in your boots on
Yeah,
the inside, right? We know that.
yeah,
Anybody that's been a performer for a number of years knows how often you feel just like a wreck and something wonderful happens.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and I
and
mean, if you're an actor and you're portraying real life and you're portraying something that's interesting to watch, I mean, that's very interesting to watch as somebody be a wreck. So
yeah, and also that a lot of the times it isn't the thing that feels like a wreck on the inside isn't coming out as a wreck on the outside. It's coming out as something sort of alive and
yeah,
present. I mean, we talk about presence. Presence is such a huge thing in every field, and it's really hard to have an authentic presence if you are pretending that you feel differently than you feel, or if you're not sort of figuring out how to work with what's really happening. And I think what I've done in my both my careers at times is and I've seen, my clients do this. I so don't want to feel anxious. It's such a
yeah,
uncomfortable feeling, and you so want to just feel good and confident as you're going into it. And so I kind of block out the negative feelings. I sort of pretend they're not there, or tell myself a little story about, oh, it's fine. It doesn't matter as much as this, or it's kind of, I just do what I can to make it go away. So I feel better. And it doesn't help. And then when I show up, I'm like a little bit underprepared, or um, I kind of know I've told myself a lie on some level about it, and I'm just not as good. I mean, I kind of need that little bit of edge, I think, to be on top of my game.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
So anyway, so the book is just years of working of sort of navigating an acting career, being around tons of actors, navigating their confidence, and seeing how many people are are s- are working through anxiety. Like, I think that there's a myth about there's so many people who perform at a high level and we assume they're so comfortable and confident, and they're just not. Like, what you learn when you work with people who perform all the time. And then I learned this as a coach too. I'd work with these amazing people who have 2 Ivy League degrees and they're working at the top of their game, and in our first session they sort of confess to me feelings of imposter syndrome, or where they're struggling or feel out of place. And so part of the mission of the book is just to remind everyone people are performing at high levels all the time without confidence, without this sort of self-belief. They're finding other ways to push through and do what they have to do and get done what they need to get done. Um, that you don't need to wait for that feeling to do what you want to do, right? And again, as we were saying before, like that feeling is a byproduct of other work that we do, and there's so many other things that we can lean on to help us get done what we need to get done, other than believing in ourselves. And I think there's a lot of messaging in our society about the need to feel confident. We sort of sell confidence, like
yeah,
our toothpaste commercials, our shampoo commercials, our self-help books. Like, there's so
yeah,
much of this self-belief that we need to feel in order to be happy and fulfilled and successful. And I I don't think that's serving us.
yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, that's good to feel that way. It's good to feel confident. It's
Right.
strong to feel confident when I feel like being vulnerable, being terrified, and doing it anyway is way braver and to me way stronger, whatever,
Keep
whatever.
going when you have those feelings.
Yeah, that's and also so much more interesting and again relatable. I just love, for actors, like that's what
Right.
we're doing. We're trying to, I hate the word trying, but like we're embodying a character in order to, convey humanity, put humanity on the screen. And I feel like it's way more human to feel what the fuck am I doing? Or, terrified or yeah, like how
Or at
many
least
people.
to welcome, to normalize the presence of those feelings and work with them and through them rather than feeling like this is going to be a failure because I don't have enough belief in myself, or I'm nervous, I'm anxious. This is, there's a feeling of I've got to feel like that guy got his shit together and he looks so calm, and like I need to be, so you're sort of like want to feel like somebody else looks in order to do the thing. And there's a little bit of like, you have no idea what that guy feels like. Like
Yeah,
maybe he does feel confident, maybe he doesn't, but we don't know. And you can get the thing done.
yeah.
Right? You can whether it's a business presentation or an audition or whatever it is, we can work with what's actually happening, and still get you where you need to get. And I think that goes for sort of like those more pervasive feelings of confidence too. If somebody's sort of struggling in general, there's other things we can lean into besides what you believe about yourself, like your values and what you really want and what's important to you, and how you want to show up. I mean, when I think about what kept, I don't know about you, I'd be interested to hear this from you, but as an actor, and I was telling Austin, like my confidence was always taking all of these dings. But the fact that I was staying in this kind of brutal business, and people would say to me all the time, "Oh, it's so it's amazing you have enough confidence to sort of like keep going and stay in there." And I just remember feeling like I don't feel like it's confidence that's keeping me in this game. I feel like I, I'm scared and nervous all the time, but I knew what I wanted. I was connected to this feeling of wanting to build a career around exploring who we are and exploring
Mhm.
our stories. And I had so much clarity around that goal that it helped me work through all those uncomfortable feelings. And that's what you do when you're coaching people. Such an important part of that is helping them articulate their goals and what they want and why they're doing what they're doing. Because when your confidence or your self-belief fails you, your clarity about what you're doing and why you're doing it is one of the many things that can kind of carry you through.
Can you talk about, and does the book talk about, okay, so now we've put this out here, like, here's the thing, you don't need to have confidence, so
By the
then
way, I do want to say, I'm not saying it's not awesome to feel confident. Like it's
yeah,
great when it comes and you have it. Lovely,
you're not
wonderful.
against it.
I'm just saying, yeah, not against confidence. Like great, it's wonderful to feel confident. I'm just saying, in my experience, it ebbs and flows. It leaves us all the time. I'm many years into my career, and I'll have days where I, still I'll facilitate something, and then I'll be up all night being like, oh God, what should I have said? No, it's just like part of being human. So it's more about normalizing it when it's not there, than saying like, let's forget this confidence thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but
No,
I
no,
wanted
no,
to.
so within that and within the book, do you talk about, or will you talk about what to do, like, what to do instead of striving for confidence? Well, I guess we've sort of discussed that, like,
Yeah,
practice.
there's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yes, practicing, taking action, um, thinking about, just thinking about other things, the sort of clarity, the other values you have that can sort of help support what you want to do. Um, there's there's also sort of a whole reframe around, when if somebody is a good public speaker, um, or like a lot of our clients, right, they want to feel more confident in their public speaking, or they want to feel more confident when they have to present something or be in front of people or run meetings, or whatever it is. And what that's actually about is that they want to be more competent. They want to be more skilled at doing those things. I think there's something culturally that makes us first go to, how do I feel? Do I feel confident about this? They want the feeling to be part of the process of doing the thing and getting better at the thing, versus, let's just talk about the thing you want to be better at. Let's just talk about the competence and the skill and the ability that you want to build. And again, the feeling is going to be a result of working on that skill, right? So I think a lot of the times that we're chasing confidence, we're actually chasing competence.
Mm, yeah. So
And
breaking
even,
it down step by step so that it
yes,
feels manageable,
this is
and
what I'm
then
using.
doing each step.
Just like you would do anything, just like you would learn anything.
Yeah.
And normalizing, even for athletes, who lose their confidence on game day, or um, they feel fine in practice, and then the pressure goes up because of the match or whatever. That a lot of sports psychologists talk about. Well, the first thing you have to do is sort of like normalize the fact that you feel anxious on game day, and that those negative thoughts that you're feeling about all the things that could go wrong, they're there to protect you. They're there to kind of say like, oh gosh, are you sure you want to do this, because this is really going to hurt if it goes badly. Right? And sort of like, yeah, hey, I hear you, I know the stakes are high, but what a lot of us want to do is like kind of pump ourselves up, pretend those voices aren't there, that the negative self-talk's not happening. And it's really more like with everything, like you got to work with the truth. You got to work with what's really happening and what's really there. Whether
Yeah.
it's finding another way to talk to those voices or manage them. But it's really about working with the truth of what's happening and what's there.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite teachers who also said, "Adria, you have to do it 250 times."
Hmm.
He said, "You're not nervous, you're excited." That's it's you're and I think Simon Sinek says that too, it's like the physiological
Yes.
responses of nervousness and excitement are pretty much the same. So, you
Yeah.
know, heart starts
It's,
beating, your palms are, like, sweaty, and your breath gets short, and and sort of
mhm.
to up in your chest, whatever happens to you. Think about, like, yeah, like, and also that it just, it 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 illuminates how much you care about what you're going to do, and how, like, it's important, and thank goodness that you're doing something that you care about,
Mhm.
that you really, set yourself up to do.
Yeah, you're playing a game that you care about. You're
Yeah.
doing something that you care about, and how
Yeah.
lucky. Um, and again, these aren't lies you're telling yourself. These are sort of reframes.
Yes.
And I think learning what the reframes are that you believe or that really help you. Um, you could say that really the primary thing that helps you with your confidence is the story that you tell yourself. Um, and this is how overconfidence happens, right? Like there's plenty of people that where they're what they believe about their talent and skill and ability is not matched to their actual talent and skill and ability, and that in the over way, versus you can be
Yeah.
underconfident, overconfident. If you're overconfident, you've told yourself a story about what you're capable of that's not true, and it's great for your confidence, right? But then there's like the bluster, we have all sorts of examples of people that have convinced themselves and the world that they have more skill and ability than they actually have.
Whoever could you mean?
Just, yeah, if there's anybody that can't look around and find that, I'll be shocked. But and that's about a story, right? So if you're underconfident, if you're actually more capable and skilled than you believe, you're telling yourself a limiting story about what you're capable of. If you're more confident than the skill and ability that you have, then you're telling yourself a story that's pumping. So that story, it does matter, right? That we tell ourselves. And the key, of course, is to find a story that's true, right? That actually represents you and what you can do and what's possible for you. But also that we believe it. So when we're doing those reframes, we have to find, it's all well and good to say, I'm not nervous, I'm excited, if you believe that. you have to believe it. You have to believe, you have to get to the place where you're like, yes, I'm excited and this is exciting for me and the stakes are high here and I get to maybe do a big thing today and whatever it is. But, you know, in the coaching process, we'll try out some stories or ways of sort of managing those nerves or the self-talk or whatever comes up in the moment. And sometimes some of the things work and sometimes they don't. And part of the process is helping each person sort of figure out what reframes and what that story is, that they really buy into and that's true for them. Sometimes the story is about the, you know, the people around them. Because they have stories that there's these, you know, big scary people that want them to fail. So we have to reframe that story of like, I think actually they want you to succeed. Like their life is going to be a lot easier if you do well, right?
Yeah.
If this is a success, and even that little reframe can be helpful if you believe it. But you have to believe the story you're telling.
Yeah. Yeah. We
30 minutes.
reached 30 minutes. I don't, no one's asked a question. And I'm just,
Is there anything that you want to share that's worked for a lot of your clients in terms of just before
of,
we leave, in terms of them moving from a place of kind of fear or overwhelm in their lack of confidence to making more peace with it?
I think that bit about, you know, the reframe of it's,
Mhm.
you know, it's not nervous. No questions, but I'm watching. Someone wrote. Thank you, Cynthia. Think of a question. But yeah, so like the reframe of that I feel like really works, but also you know, and this is a reframe too. be- I feel like for me, like that nervousness or whatever that is, excitement, that feeling is so human that like that's good. Like that's what for actors, that's what we strive for is having feelings, you know, like feeling something. And
Mhm.
also Paul's also watching, he said. Hi, Paul. Um, that to not judge whatever you're feeling. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like a lot of
Yes.
actors especially get finished with the scene and they'll tell me like, "Oh, I didn't feel good about it. I felt, you know, this and this, you know, this didn't go right." And then it's so interesting, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, how those feelings that that person, that actor is having are actually quite appropriate for the
Yeah.
character. And the reason that they're feeling that the actor's feeling that way is because they just went through the emotional life of that character. So
Mhm.
I think that's also really, really
And I
important.
would say that that's true for if how you feel after a presentation or a day of, I mean, after a day of facilitating in 24 leaders, I go back and do some replays and some rehashing, and I don't know, I feel like, well, that's appropriate. That was a big responsibility I had that day, and it's totally appropriate for me to question myself a little bit and wonder if I could have done better in this moment. And frankly, it makes me better, I think. You know, I think there was a period in my career where I didn't do that as much and I was a little bit more comfortable and confident. And I don't think I was doing as well. I think it flattened me. It's sort of like I lost my edge a little bit. There's something really healthy about what you're
Sarcasm.
talking about. Yeah, and just sort of like I think more of us could afford to maybe, you know, reflect. And there's a difference between like rehashing and punishing yourself, and just sort of rehashing and being like, oh gosh, you know, I bet I could have handled that moment a little bit better, or you know, I wish I'd maybe done that instead. It's how you do that that matters, right? If you're torturing yourself, that's one thing, but
Yeah.
I think it's all
Yeah.
super healthy, right?
Yeah. 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 Human.
It's human. Yeah. It's how we
Human.
keep getting better. And yeah, we're wired to keep striving and getting better and improving and all those things. So and that's what so much of this is about, is like not having confidence and sureness and certainty is such a part of being human. And um to kind of like whatever fear and just we have around that, So if we could embrace those feelings more, we'd all be better off. On an individual scale and a global scale, if we could just embrace
Yes.
inherent uncertainty and discomfort of being human and moving through the world every day, not knowing what's going to happen, I just think we would
Yeah.
be better off.
100%. 100%. All right. Well,
Yes.
I feel like we should end. This was
Yeah.
really
I want to
cool.
go for Saturdays and yeah.
Yeah, let's get up every Saturday at 6. No, but this is worth it. I really, really liked doing that. Oh, Cynthia says, I find that I'm getting more anxious before sales meetings and people younger than me, which is now a lot of them, because I'm not sure I understand them well enough. Wait, so,
Mm.
so she's saying she's getting anxious because she's having to meet with people that are so much
Yeah.
younger,
Mm-hmm.
and that she feels like she doesn't understand.
Mm.
Um,
So there's like an invitation in that, right? It's the clarity of knowing what's making you uncomfortable is sort of pointing to what you need to do then, which is figure out how to connect with these young people, which could
yeah,
that comes up in my work too, Cynthia. Um, and so again, a little bit, it's like, oh, there's a little hint here around an area to build competence, which is your understanding of this new generation coming into the workforce and sort of what makes them tick. And um, there's there's a lot of great research around this new generation by Jean Twenge. But also, maybe there's some invitations to ask them some more questions or, figure out how to, I don't know, like some of your friends' kids, whatever the thing is, it's like it's competence, right? It's building a competence around being able to connect with the younger generation. And I get hired to do that. Like that's something I've done with some of my clients to say, because so many of my Gen Z and Boomer clients are struggling with the being able to connect to this younger generation, and so sort of talking about that and how to connect with them and with what's different and what bridging those gaps can look like is that's what I'm going in there to do, is try to help them build their conversational communication competence around connecting with this generation so that they can feel better about those moments.
that sounds tricky.
Oh, we could spend a whole hour just on that conversation, just
Yeah,
on this,
yeah,
but the clarity of like, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable because of this.
is
That's
is
great. It's
is half the
like,
battle.
here's the thing. This is about developing more understanding and clarity or whatever you want to say around something so that you can feel better about it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of making me think of I'm in this stage of building my business, so I'm looking for clients, and I need to, in order to find clients, basically need to get inside the head of whoever it is that would need my help. And so maybe Cynthia doing work around that, like what's inside the head? Like how are they, yeah, like who are
Which
they?
is
What are
always what you need to do, right?
Yeah,
Is figure out what's going on with. And I have a lot of empathy for that because
yeah,
if you've been doing it for a long time and then suddenly you're sort of selling to a new generation and there's new priorities and ways of thinking and even some new language. And so you have to kind of recalibrate, um, educate yourself a little bit, right?
yeah,
It's new.
yeah. I mean, and that whole idea is also what actors are doing when they approach a role, like, "Okay, I've gotta get inside the head of
Yeah.
this person. So what does that look like?" And, speaking of things that would make the world better, that is this an empathy, right? I mean, e empathy for everyone, and, um, if we could all be more assertive and aggressive about getting inside the head of other people and not just being so in our sphere. Um, yeah, we're not
Yeah.
really taught how to do that. That's not something we learn. We learn how to do math all different ways, but we're not taught how to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and yeah,
Yeah,
feel
a
their
part of business and sales and communication and yeah, I mean, and the fact that we're not taught that is why I have job security because that's so much of what I'm doing with folks
yeah,
is helping them think about those, especially when we're talking about leadership and communication. Like you have to be able to understand your people to lead them effectively, especially this new generation. Um, and so, yeah, that's that's for a lot of people that have just sort of driven, gotten where they've gotten in their careers by working really hard and doing these things, and they haven't really had to do as much of that unless you're in sales or whatever, and then you're always kind of trying to understand what people want and that kind
yeah,
of thing. But so then the more people you need to impact, the more people you need to influence or lead, the more that ability to kind of understand other people becomes important. And in the context of motivating them and getting the best work out of them, um, empathy. Yeah,
yeah, sounds like,
not just this like soft.
I feel like that's gonna be our next live, Karina.
Okay. Okay.
We talk about that. That sounds cool. All right. I feel like we should end because we
Mhm.
don't want this to be a million years long. But it was
Thanks
so
for chatting with me.
yeah, thank you. It was so
Mm,
thanks for reaching out too, and thank
yeah.
you, Paul and Cynthia, for being here.
Well, thanks, guys.
And, yeah, we'll see you on the other side.
Okay. All right. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks for coming. See ya.